Hi, my name is Shariana Heller, and this is my senior project presentation. It is on my research paper called Body Image in Media, the Effect on Women. So to begin, I want to start with an introduction where I found a great quote that fits the paper and the whole thought process behind body image, and it's by Gloria Steinem. It says, if you ask men about their body image, they will tell you they look better than they do. And if you ask a woman, she'll tell you she looks worse. I think that points out how most women have a negative body image perception, and I think that media just happens to make that worse. So to start off, I'm going to explain a little bit about body image. So body image is defined as how we look at ourselves and how we feel about the way we look and our perception of what people think they should look like or what we feel we should look like. Now, body image has become a big thing over the years. It's starting to get a little more positive as time goes, but there is still a lot of negative surrounding it, just simply because if you don't fit a certain type, there are people out there who still judge and feel like you don't fit the ideal image, then you're not attractive. So if you look back in like the 1900s, women who were more voluptuous were considered the more attractive women. But around 2008, that really began to change to where the attractive woman became a thinner woman who was typically underweight and appeared to have more makeup and more money. Of course, all women should be happy with themselves, but when you're constantly facing what people feel you should look like, it's hard to accept yourself. Now I want to talk about media exposure. As a lot of us know, media has grown a lot in the past couple of years. You know, there was a point where television didn't even exist and all there was radio. And now we have television and radio, but we have different ways to stream television, different forms of television. And then we also have radio where now you can listen on your phone, on your computer, tablet, wherever. It's not just sitting in front of an actual radio anymore. So I think media exposure has grown a lot and will continue to grow. It's something that's going to always evolve because we have more knowledge now than we used to. With how big social media and all other forms of media have gotten, we are exposed to at least one form of media per day, whether that's driving in your car and the radio's on, or listening to music and on your phone. You're still being exposed to that medium. Of course, with time, women in media have also grown. And since they've grown, it seems to be a certain type that's always seen. Skinnier girls with pretty hair and a lot of makeup and fancy clothes or whatever. And this doesn't help other women with their body image when this is what they're constantly being exposed to. So I want to talk about my research. After looking at previous research, it seems that most researchers found that women do have a negative impact when it comes to media and body image. So I wanted to look at how women view their own body image compared to how much they care about the opinions of others and how they feel they compare to women in media. I also wanted to look at digital enhancements and see if it really is a big thing and if most people do feel like it helps. Of course, we did throw in a little bit of influencers to show like the changes we make and the stuff that we possibly buy just because we see people we want to be like getting it. So my method was to do an online survey, and the survey was distributed to people of different backgrounds. The survey was also distributed using social media, texting, emailing, any form of media I could get my hands on to send it out. I did have a smaller sample with only 32 people. One was disqualified because it was a male instead of female. And it seemed that we did have a mix, but majority were females who were white or Caucasian, and a lot of them were in a lower to mid level income, and they ranged in age, but the medium age was 30. So the procedure for the survey starts off with a consent form. After you click the link, it takes you to this consent form that's actually on the screen now. And after reading it, you have to agree. Once you agree, you go to your demographical questions like age, race, like I said, income. There were some on education for themselves, parents' education, and so on and so forth. Then we looked at media use and how much you use media, what forms of media you use, just to get an understanding of how some of these demographical questions could compare to the increase of media use. And then throwing in the body image perception, we wanted to know about how people felt about themselves, how they felt about the people they see in media, so that we could tie it all in together into one. Now, for measurements, I asked a lot of questions that had answers like no, negative, somewhat, neutral, yes, positive. I did have questions that were short answer just to see if there were inner similarities and why people felt the way they did. And there was a question regarding hours of exposure to media, which we stuck with regular times to be able to tell how much people are using media today. Now, on average, most people use anywhere between 2 to 3 hours and 4 and 5 hours. For an analysis, I took similar people in certain age groups and compared their answers to each other, then compared them to answers from people of other age groups to see if it did have anything to do with age. Like the younger you are, the more you feel it, the older, the less. I didn't see too much of a difference there. It seemed that since most were in a normal 20 to 50 age range, they were all similar in answers. Then I also took the media comparison of how many hours are used or what form of social media and compared it to the answers regarding body image and whether it's more of a positive or negative thing. So my results came out that most people's personal opinions of themselves fell in a neutral or negative area, while most people were not happy with the way they looked. They weren't happy with their own body images, and it was sad to see this because more people should be. If you also look at the graphs provided in the PowerPoint, the opinion of others is only somewhat important, which I thought was pretty relatively important, just because it goes to show that while we don't directly think that the opinion of others is important to us, there's also part of us that does. It's more of a 50-50 thing. But the other majority said yes, that it does. So less people feel that others' opinions are not important, and we need to be more concerned with our own opinions rather than everyone else's. More on the results, looking at media use Most people did use media of some form. It was typically social media or radio, some type, television, like I said, social media was the most used form, with 78% of the people who took the survey using Facebook. Now, we see a lot of women in media today, and looking at how women compare to themselves to others, as you can see, some of the answers here regarding whether they felt they fit the ideal woman, a lot of them were no. And some of the answers is because of age, simply because of age or waist size. And one person even lost a ton of weight and still feels that they can't fit in because of the extra skin or whatever their reason may be. Now, I did ask a few questions regarding digital enhancements, where most women did feel that digital enhancements help to make women appear more attractive. And influencers did influence a lot of people, which I'll show you on the next few slides. So as you see, 84% of people felt that digital enhancements and filters make celebrity pictures look better. But a majority of them have not purchased anything based on those influencers, which I thought was interesting. This goes back to the amount of time spent on social media. As you can see, most spend 2 to 3 hours and 4 to 5, just a few more graphs to show some of the stuff I talked about. Now, these are some more of the answers. I did single out one because I do feel like it is a positive message to all, where it says the person felt that fine about themselves because they're not them, they're themselves, and that's how we should all be. But if you look at a lot of the other answers, they're all negative because of things like weight or facial flaws or just anything, age, that makes people feel uncomfortable. Now, the other picture here is showing some of the good with the bad. A lot of people feel they won't look good and they can't play certain roles. And that goes to show a lot about it. Now, there were limitations with this study because I didn't have as big of a group as I would have liked, and I didn't get as many questions in that I would have liked as well. But I think that this study could go further until we can find a way to get people to accept who they are. And there's so much more that can be looked into about this. But in conclusion, I think that it is important to remember that we are not all going to be someone else's ideal person. We're not going to have the ideal body image. And we have to remember that technology is not necessarily always a good thing. And we need to take a step back and think about who we are and why we are great the way we are. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is a quote by Amy Bloom, and it says, "You are imperfect, permanently and inevitably flawed, and you are beautiful." Just so that we have a reminder that it isn't always necessary to be what you think the ideal woman is. Thank you.